Good morning. Welcome to the Springfield Unitarian Universalist Meeting House. We welcome you from wherever you are, and we're glad you're here. You're welcome to stay after the service for a virtual coffee hour when we can unmute ourselves and enjoy some conversation. That's it. Welcome.
Hear these words for our chalice lighting, which are from St. Augustine of Hippo, from St. Augustine, who lived a very, very long time ago in the years of the early church in North Africa. He says, to fall in love with God is the greatest romance. To fall in love with God is the greatest romance. We're going to spend the next hour unpacking that statement. What is he talking about? To fall in love with God is the greatest romance. St. Augustine of Hippo from North Africa. Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let our stories warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let our collective vision change your heart. Welcome to our time of worship together. It's Valentine's Day. We're going to explore love. What is love all about anyway? And one of my favorite songs from our hymnal, and it's actually a popular folk song, is Love Will Guide Us. So if you don't know it yet, you will by the end. So join in and as we sing together.
Love will guide us, peace has drawn us, hope inside us, we lead the way, on the road from greed to healing. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. You are like no other being. What you can give, no other can give. To the future of our precious children. To the future of the world where we live. Love will guide us, peace has drawn us, hope inside us, will lead the way, on the road from greed to living. Love will guide us through the hard times.
May love guide us. I have a story for you. This is about a yogi who lived far away in a spiritual community. And the yogi had the habit at night of, in the middle of the night, when he woke up, instead of sitting there going, I can't sleep, he would get up and he would just pray. And what he loved to do is chant and repeat beautiful names for God. And he would do what's called a prostration, which is when you're kind of on the ground, because he's in this little hut, and on his knees and just kind of bending forward and putting his head onto the ground. And it would just make him so happy to be there, just communing with love, with the source. He loved it. He just loved doing this. And sometimes it moved him so much, he would just start crying, tears of joy, of feeling that sense of well-being and connection and how wonderful life is. And feeling the connection with God, the source, whatever name you want to call it, doesn't matter what name we use for that mystery. We can call it mystery. So in this, he lived with other yogis, and he was kind of the spiritual teacher. And in the morning, what they would do is they would get together and they would do some prayers and some yoga together and meditate together, that sort of thing. And so all of the students were in the meditation hall, like waiting, and he doesn't show up. And the minutes are going by and they're like, where is he? What's going on? He was never late. I mean, he was like always the first one there. And so finally, one of the students said, maybe we should check on him. And so they did. They went to his hut and they called his name. And they didn't really hear anything. And so finally they opened the door of the hut and they went in. And he was on the ground there in his prostration. He was on his knees on the ground. And what happened is it was a chilly morning. And he had been crying so much, tears of joy, that his beard froze to the ground. He couldn't get up. He couldn't get up. And so they got some warm water, imported, and melted it so his beard could get unstuck from the ground. And he got up and cleaned up a little bit and went off to the meditation hall to join in the morning rituals, the morning prayers and yoga and stuff. How about you? Have you ever been so happy that you just start crying? Tears of joy that I'm looking out the window right now. That it's just so beautiful, that life is so wonderful. You know that feeling of just tears of joy? Think of a time when you felt that. What was going on in your life? Who were you with? Where were you? Were you outside, inside? What was happening when you felt tears of joy? Those are holy moments. Those are really important sacred moments when we feel so moved that we start crying. It's worth paying attention to those times and remembering them. They're like doorways into mystery, God, the source, love, whatever you want to call it. They're treasures, those moments when we're moved to tears of joy. So remember them, treasure them. You can even think of them like beads on a necklace that you can put a string through and wear to remember those special, special moments in your life. And hopefully you have lots of them, and your necklace is really, really big and long. You have to keep looping it over your head many times because you have so many moments of joy that move you to tears. May it be so. Thanks for listening to my story about the yogi who froze his beard to the ground in ecstasy. Ecstasy means really big joy. So, yeah, thanks for listening to that story. We're going to hear an anthem that Is that what we're doing now? No, we're doing a song. We're doing Christina Rossetti. We have not sung this before, and it is so beautiful. It's number 296 in the hymnal. And Christina Rossetti lived in the 1800s, really a remarkable poet. And so her poem was put to music. And I'm just going to read you the last verse. And we'll sing it all together in a minute. Lead lives of love that others who behold your lives may kindle too, with love and cast their lot with you. Lead lives of love that others who behold your lives may kindle too, with love and cast their lives with you. May your love be so big, maybe even tears of joy, that other people behold you as a beacon of love and join in, cast their lot with you and say, yes, that's what I want, a life like that, a flame in love. So let's sing together this beautiful, new to us, new to our repertoire, this beautiful song. So thanks, Julaine.
Oh, Filii, Filii, Alleluia. Oh, ye who taste that love is sweet, set wafers for the doubtful feet that stumble on in search of it. Alleluia. Sing hymns of love that some who hear far off in vain may land and hear. Rise up and wander and draw near. Alleluia. Lead lives of love that others who behold your lives may kindle too with love and cast their lot with you. Alleluia. Oh, Filii, Filii, Alleluia.
If I could just add the words, O Filii et Filiae, Alleluia, mean, oh brothers and sisters, celebrate.
Thank you for that. That's a beautiful one. Yeah, Christina Rossetti. So what are we here? What's it all about? It's all about love. That's the foundation of everything. Love. The flow of everything is love. And we're going to recite together our affirmation, and either it'll be up in the screen or in the chat box. I'm not sure, but our covenant starts, or our affirmation starts with these words: love is the doctrine of this community. Love is the doctrine. When you think of a doctrine is usually very long and complicated. When I was growing up, I learned one. We believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was born of the Virgin Mary. It goes on and on and on and on. It's the Catholic doctrine, and it's very long, comprehensive, covers everything, beautiful. And if you boil that down, or you boil the doctrines of all the religions down, I'm wearing my stole with, can't quite see it. with the symbols of the world's religion. Boil it all down, and what do you get? Love. That's it, love. We can make a really long doctrine with all the complicated stuff, or we can cut to the chase and say, join me. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to serve the needs of all beings to the end that all shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with the source of our being. That's our covenant. About 14 years ago, in 2007, I was ordained. It was September, and here's an image of the church that I was ordained at. This is the church in Stratford, Vermont. Old, beautiful Universalist church. And at my ordination, someone gave me a gift. Two of my dear friends gave me a gift. They gave me just a book of spiritual sayings. And I just opened it randomly there on the steps. And what I saw, the first one that caught my eye, hang on one sec, I'm going to bring it up. Here we go. When I opened that little meditation book, was this. The work of Cupid is to bring two souls together. So is the work of the spiritual teacher, to bring together the soul and God. So Cupid, that the funny little character who shoots the arrows and zings people to get their attention, to get them to fall in love. That's the work of the spiritual teacher, to zing people so they fall in love with God, with the source, with love, with whatever you want to call it. And if the word God troubles you, find another word for there. Don't be put off by a simple word. As we just heard in that song, love never ends. Love, this unending energy from that created the universe, that goes on and on and on. Some would call it God. You don't have to, whatever. We'll just call it love. And the work of the spiritual teacher is to remind us, to say, hey, check it out. Check it out. Bring two souls together is the work of Cupid, and to bring people together with God, the work of the spiritual teacher. When I was in seminary, I got really interested in process theology. There's so many different kinds of theology. And one of the ones that really struck me is called process theology. And that means that God is not a thing. God's not a being. God's not a guy with a gray beard up in the sky. God is a process. God isn't done. God is unfolding. Some of the older theologians thought this was heresy. What do you mean God's not done? God's perfect. Well, God's perfect in the continual unfolding of magic, mystery. So in process theology, and there are some really important Unitarian leaders in the development of process theology. It's a fairly recent theological perspective in the last 100 years or so. And I'll just share with you this is from a process theologian, Bruce Epperly. God does not determine everything, but presents a vision of beauty and energy to achieve it for every moment of experience. So God is not the one in charge. God is this, it's never doneness that we just heard sung about in that beautiful, beautiful piece from the virtual choir. It's never done. God's never done. Love is this continual unfolding. And it's all around us every moment. Every moment. The problem is we humans, we're the big not pay attentioners. We're the big forgetters. We're the big oblivious ones. There's a Unitarian minister in Kansas City who used to say, we are trudging through paradise. Here we are in paradise. Look around. Look in your own heart. You're in paradise. But what are we doing? Oh, I got to do this. And did I get that done? And what about that? And oh, this problem and that problem. And we don't lift our head and take it in. Life is not about problems. Life is about this unending process of love. And for many, many people, one of the ways that we can experience this best is through nature. We get caught up in our thoughts and in ourselves, and we lose sight of this profound truth. Quite a number of years ago, I had one of those aha experiences. So have you met people who have been like Cupid to you, who have zinged you with something that has woken you up? That maybe you were trudging along through paradise and someone said or did something or sang a song or told a joke or did something that just like lifted your awareness. That person is like Cupid saying, zing, wake up to love. It's all around you. Wake up to it. These people are treasures in our life, the people who bring us home to the truth of our connection. At the beginning of our virus time, almost a year ago now, one of the things that we talked about is that there are two viruses going around. One is the physical virus thingy, and the other is the virus of fear. And I don't know which is worse, actually. Because when we are in fear, we are very contracted. We're cut off. We're living in our smallest selves. We don't have access to the source, to God, to love, to when we're contracted in fear. But there are people who remind us, people who break through our limited thinking, our narrowness, people who break through our fear and help us connect with our heart, connect with the depth of our being. And one of these people for me, it was not quite a few years ago. I was living in Kansas City at the time, and my friend Debbie Dorsey was visiting. Deb was an old friend of mine from when I was in grad school at the University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana. And Deb's on the call today. Hi, Deb. And so this minister at the Unitarian Church I was attending gave me 2 tickets to go hear a speaker. And this minister said, Melon, I think you'd like this. He said, I have a wedding. I can't go. Here, do this. And Debbie was visiting. And I said, I have these tickets. And they were tickets to see Houston Smith. I didn't know who Houston Smith was. Debbie did. And she said, oh, we got to go. Oh, we got to go. And so we did. And I will just show you an image of Houston Smith. I've talked to so those of you who know me, you've heard me talk about this before because it was a really important event in my life. Here's Houston Smith. He glows. He just passed away a few years ago. He lived almost 100 years. He grew up in China, and his parents were missionaries. So he grew up surrounded by Christianity. Buddhism was really big in the village he was in. And the native religion, Taoism. And so he grew up in this interfaith environment where everybody was getting along, and it was just this flow of love in his childhood. And when he eventually went to Harvard, and he he sort of invented interfaith studies. And he wrote a book, which was the classic on interfaith studies that is still used today. But and he was incredibly knowledgeable. It was a panel. Remember, Debbie? It was a panel, and it was at the Vedanta Society, and there were different kinds of Christians, Buddhists, the Zoroastrian, all kinds of people on the panel, Hindu, and he was in the middle, and he was the guest speaker, the key speaker, and I don't remember what he said, but I remember his presence. I remember that he just shone, and he talked with beauty and dignity and grace about the commonalities of the world religions. And I just sat there mesmerized by this guy. And I'm sure that one of the reasons that I was ordained years later was because I met him. He was a Cupid to me. He zinged me, absolutely zinged me. He had something beautiful and profound that he glowed. And when he passed back in 2016, there were so many memorials to him and eulogies. And one of them I remember that I read was from a really big retreat center out in California. It might have been Big Sur, I can't remember, one of the really big retreat centers. And a person who worked there for decades and said, in my decades of work, I have seen hundreds of spiritual teachers come through, offer beautiful programs, and there's just a handful of them who stand out. Houston Smith is one of them. He lived love. He glowed love. He breathed love. And he got me. He totally got me to wonder, like, what? How is that possible for a human being to live like that? And basically, he was in love with God. He made God real. If the word God troubles you, let's just say love. He made love real in his life. And the way he breathed, the way he walked, the way he stood, the way he was, complete inspiration to me. So how about you? Do you have some Cupids in your life? Do you have people who have zinged you and woken you out of your stupor to the possibilities of the grandness of life? That love never ends, that God never ends. For so many of us, it is nature. It is our connections with nature can be that Cupid to wake us up. So I asked Tony if she would be kind enough, because I think of you as one of these people, Tony, who through your artwork, you help people to wake up to beauty and to stop trudging through paradise and take it in. So Tony, you have some wonderful slides to share with us, your fractal work. So yeah, let's hear what you have to say.
First, I would like to say that a couple of weeks ago, we had our meditation where the aha moments. And for me, art in the act of doing it and in the photography, there are aha moments. You even mentioned that today, the aha moment. It's like constantly having aha moments when you look at something. The world, like you said, the world is always changing. It's never ever the same. You can look out the window right now, and the light is different than it was 2 minutes ago. Or it's just a wonderful world that we're living in, and the wonder of it all, and the smallness that we are. We're just one part of all of that, and to me, that is what is inspired. That is what is inspiring. And when you were talking about tears and being brought to tears, it happens all of the time. And the last time happened to me was when Jolene was, when we watched Jolene's presentation uh, of that beautiful slideshow. I mean, you could tell that she put her whole heart, she put her whole heart into that, and it was just beautiful. Of common, ordinary people doing things, doing good things, and the aha moments don't have to be grand. Don't have to be grand. Usually, they're just common ordinary things. Every day that we all experience. And so, if we could show some of the slides, that would be great. I would love that. These slides represents a single moment in time. I altered the photograph and added color to it to bring it out. The same with these. These are ordinary plants that I manipulated and added color to bring bring out the beauty. And the same in this too. I mean, it was just ordinary grass growing, weeds growing in the trees in the background, and I added color to it. And if you look closely, you'll see all kinds of things in this. This is a fractal image of a swamp. It's actually a vernal pool full of tadpoles. This is another of the same thing, only different light. Different light gives a whole different feeling. Different. This is like up close view. The ant. There's another ant way inside of that too. You can see it. This was a pile of bark that had fallen off of trees, and I added color to it to bring out the variety. But it was there all the time. And this is I did a whole series of these. This is bug art. The termites made these in the wood, and I brought it out. And it's a beautiful spring day. Self-explanatory. That was our front yard in the house where I lived before, in the pine forest. And some of the inhabitants of that forest. Dandelions are my favorite flower. Not only are they beautiful, but they're so useful to us, aren't they? It's another one of the pond. Fractal image. It's snow. Tried to get the different seasons in here. That was it for the slideshow. But as you can see, they're just simple, ordinary things. And at one time in history, before all the major religions, there was one religion, and it was the animist faith, where the whole world was a sacred place, and there were gods. There were gods everywhere, small gods that not one mighty god, but many. And these these tiny gods, they were fragile, but they were the gods of the force. that gives life to a place. And I do believe that that these beings do exist, and they exist in the world, and they are protecting the world, and we have to help them protect it. I guess that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you. You are a Cupid, helping us fall in love with nature and see fresh eyes. To take it in, to stop trudging through paradise, and to travel through in awe, so that we do break out in tears. Not that our beard would get stuck on the ground necessarily, but to let ourselves move and take it in. Yeah.
One time I went to an exhibit of Monet in New York, and his work, his whole life of painting and art was so magnificent. I cried through the whole thing. I was embarrassed. I put my program up like this, and I couldn't stop crying. It was just so overwhelmingly beautiful. And to think that he did all that in his lifetime, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. I had a similar experience. There's a dance museum in New York. It's in Saratoga Springs. And I went to that dance museum. I just cried the whole way through. It was just so moving. So how about you? When's the last time you cried tears of joy at being moved? And remember those times, treasure those times, and recognize them, that is a connection with source, with mystery, with love, whatever you want to call it. If the God language puts you off, don't be bothered by it. We need a change in consciousness. This has been a theme throughout the year. I keep repeating this because I think it's foundationally true. That Einstein says you cannot solve problems with the same thinking that got you there. So we look at the problems around us. We can't solve them with the thinking that got us there. We need new thinking. And where is this new thinking going to come from? It's not going to come from a narrow mind. It's going to come from expansiveness. What is really amazing, I'm so glad to be on the planet at this time, because right now there is so much research being done now. People who study the brain are able to map the brain with electrodes in different ways and see what parts of the brain and mapping the whole body, what's going on, particularly connected with spiritual experiences. So scientists can put electrodes on the mind, say, of a great meditator. If they were able to, that yogi I told about in the kid's story, who was in such ecstasy, he just was crying. To put electrodes on a person who's in that kind of elevated state and see what's going on. What are their brain waves? What is that about? That's process theology. That's God is that experience, that process, that it's a human, it's your birthright as a human being to know this experience, to live in such a way that the yogis have been perfecting forever, and now that the neuroscientists are able to map out and describe for us. This is for you. And I feel like one of my biggest jobs as a minister is to say, hey, come on, fall in love with life, fall in love with God, find this depth of your being that is you, that you have access to this. It's yours to know, to be, to live. A really simple way of thinking about it is in terms of brainwaves. We live a lot of our lives in what is called beta, which is kind of the problem solving, the thinking mind, which are shorter wavelengths, and it's this sort of focused thing of like figure it out, get it done. Da, 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 da. Fight or flight is in there as a part of it, that sort of intensity. And but that's not the only part of our brain that we can use. It's not, there's more to us. It's not the only part of our being, but we live a lot there. Some scientists say we live 70% of our time there. Maybe in this COVID time, we're living 90% of our time there. But it's very limiting, and there are not many possibilities in beta consciousness. But what's wonderful with us as human beings, we have great capacity. That's part of what Houston Smith was talking about, but also demonstrating. That there's beta, but there's also alpha, and alpha is kind of a little calmer than beta, and it's a little more deliberative. Well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, a little more expansive. And you cannot have a conversation with someone who's different than you when you're in beta. You'll be like, let's figure this out. You have to at least calm down to alpha to be able to see a little bit of different sides. But that's not all of our consciousness either. We also have what is called theta, and theta is huge. Theta is expansive. Sleep state is theta. Meditation is theta. Theta is immense. In the small mind, there are not many possibilities, and there are lots of problems, and there's ego and things to figure out and do. And it's tense. It's stressful. But when you get into theta, what problem? You get into a place of expansiveness. It's a heart-centered space. Nisargadatta said, the mind creates the abyss. What's the problem? How do we figure it out? The mind creates the abyss, and the heart crosses it. The heart is theta. In theta, the heart opens. So we create problems, but they are solvable. They are understandable. But we live in a culture that almost doesn't even acknowledge theta. Spirit, source, God, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's part of our ability, our makeup as human beings. And one of the maybe the most tragic things in a way about the lockdown and the tension around COVID is we're stuck in beta. Oh! No. Chill, back off, bring yourself calmer. You don't have to live there. It's a terrible place to live. Hafiz said, fear is the smallest room in the house, my dear. I want to see you in better quarters. To be stuck in that beta wave consciousness. Well, calm down. And that's what I love so much. Tony, I feel like your work brings us there. Music is a shortcut. Music brings us there. Elaine, your work brings us there.
Definitely.
Yeah. You want to say something, Tony?
I just wanted to say that chant that Jolene played really touched me. I've always liked Gregorian chant. That type of thing to me is very meditative, very beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So much music.
Mm-hmm. And shortcut.
Yeah.
A shortcut to theta, God, the source, spirit, is art and nature. Those are shortcuts. I mean, you can sit and meditate for decades, and many people do, and it's wonderful. But you can do the shortcut and just sing, just chant, and get right there. So how about you? Who are the people who have zinged you to remind you that you're not this little tense thing, but you are part of the love that is unending, that goes on and on and on? Who are the people who have reminded you of that? These people are treasures. And how about you? Are you caught too much in beta? Do you need a reminder that you're so much more than that? Your expansiveness? And what gets you there? What gets you there? meditation, prayer. For our yogi with his frozen beard, it was just meditating on the names of God, the beautiful names of God, just opened him up. In such joy he melted. What is it for you? Do you know? If you don't know yet, that's my question. Find out. Find out. And look around for the people who are the lights, who can give you examples, who are living, not in that place. Who wants that? Nobody. People who are living in a calm, expansive place. Who, like for me, Houston Smith, seeing him was like, I've never seen a human being like that in my life before. I wanted to know more.
Melon,
Yeah.
you reminded me of something that I saw on a day in a life. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on YouTube, but
No.
they took people all over the world. I don't know. Has anybody seen that? There was a man, and he was living in a tiny place. It was very stark. He was very poor. It was probably a one-room apartment where everything was there, and the walls were barren, and there he was. The only thing that was in there were spiders, and the spiders were. He had a name for each of the spiders. There was one in the kitchen, his kitchen spider. He named his kitchen spider, and there was one on the floor. I mean, there were spiders and little webs all around the house. That he felt this connection. He felt this connection to, and I thought that was so beautiful that this man had this in his heart, that he was able, in this terrible time of isolation by himself, was able to find comfort in something so small as a spider.
That is so beautiful.
Tell you that because I thought that was fantastic when I saw that about the whole film. That one really got me. That little man in that apartment with those spiders.
Thank you for that, Tony. It reminded me of something I wanted to say, and I'm so glad you jogged my mind on it. Is, about a year ago when we started this whole adventure on Zoom together. One of the things we talked about is loneliness and being alone, and people feeling like they're alone. And I told this story that there was a Native woman who was in the woods, just sitting in a clearing space in the woods on a rock, and just hanging out there. And this non-Native person came along and said to her, "What are you doing sitting here alone, by yourself? What are you doing?" And she said, "What makes you think I'm alone?" And she was surrounded. The rock is under her, the trees. If you sit quietly long enough, a deer or something will walk by. I think it was Kayum, who did a service a few months ago, who suggested that we each take a practice of sitting at the same place in nature every day for a period of time. And it's too cold right now here to sit outside very much, but you can sit at the same window and just take it in. Take it in. You're not alone. If you think you're alone in COVID, you are not. You are surrounded. Love is unending, as we just heard in that song. It flows on and on and on and on and on. And you're part of it. It's flowing through you right now. It's flowing through your home. So, zing, wake up, wake up. Wake up to God. Wake up to love. Wake up to the beauty that is all around you. So how about you? How about you? Where does this message from me and Tony land on your heart? Back to St. Augustine, what I opened with. To fall in love with God is the greatest romance. To fall in love with yourself, that you are a ray of God. You have this in you. If you live in that little tiny place, You forget, you don't know, but it's always there. All you have to do is calm yourself down, relax a little, open your heart, and fall in love with the God in you, with the source. Yeah, the vortex of love. I'm seeing what Lynn put into the chat box. The vortex of love. Yeah. So you're not alone. You're not disconnected. You're part of this ongoing flow of love. Wake up to it. It's in nature, as Tony showed us in the fractals, in the images. It's in music. It's in you. It's in me. It's life. Yeah. And it's the greatest romance because it's the foundation. It's truth. Love is the doctrine. Love is what it's all about. Let's stop trudging through paradise and wake up to this total beauty. To fall in love with God is the greatest romance. Enjoy your romance. Go out today and let yourself cry. Let yourself fall in love all over again with nature, with the people you care about, with yourself, with the source. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Let's just have a brief meditation and just take a breath. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. Feel your feet on the ground and feel the earth holding you. Feel the power of the earth. And just breathe. And as your mind wanders, bring your breath gently back. Bring your attention gently back to your breath. And feel the calmness, the depth in your heart, that silence. There may be waves on the surface of the ocean, but deep underneath, there's calm. And there's calmness in your heart too. And you can come home to it anytime you choose. Turn off the media, turn off the phone, turn off the computer and the TV, and come home to yourself. Come home to this sacred place of mystery and joy that is at the core of your being. Spirit of life, the source, the one known by many names, thank you so much for the gift of this on the way to spring day. Thank you for the gift of this sacred community. Thank you for our friends on the path who remind us of what really matters. Thank you for the images, the songs, the music, the words, the feelings that help us find our way home. Home to love, home to truth, home to the depth of our own beings. May we release our worries and our anxieties and come into the expansiveness of who we really are, the fullness of who we really are. Spirit of life, thank you for all of the ease, the love, the spaciousness that is ours to bathe in, to be in, to live in, to breathe in every moment of every day. Thank you for waking us up so that we dance through paradise instead of trudging. And thank you for the ease so that when we re-engage in life, we have new insights on the supposed problems and we re-engage with life from this place of unending love. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. And we have a gorgeous chant, Ubi Caritas. So, Julaine, would you do the translation for us of those words?
Ubi Caritas et Amor means where there is charity or kindness and love, God is there. So if we want to leave out the word God and say the source is there, or our Creator is there, the big is there. So and I truly believe that. I would also say where there is music, God is there. Melon had actually asked me to say a few words on music as a conduit toward to love and the source, but I think it is a little too late for me to say much more than that. But that's for another time, perhaps. But I would say that the repetition of chant definitely can take you into a place of a spiritual peace and the theta space that Melon was talking about. So as we sing this chant and as it repeats over and over again, don't worry about it repeating over and over again. Just think about what it is that you're singing. So I will share that with us now. Well, that's interesting. It's not here. Give me a second, please. So I will I'll talk a little bit more about that subject while I look for our chant. I'm not sure what happened. So years ago, I went to visit a friend, and I met this interesting man who was a guru, an Indian guru, and I had the privilege of speaking to him for just a couple of minutes, and he asked me what I did that gave me a glow, and I didn't realize that he was saying that I had a glow, but I said, I'm a musician. And he said, well, then you're enlightened. And I really couldn't understand why he would think that I would be an enlightened person, because I didn't think I had worked hard enough to be enlightened. But he said that when you sing, when you make music, and when you get into the zone is a state of enlightenment. And that when you're in the zone with music or with your teaching, I would say, Tony, when you're in the zone with your art, when everything else falls away and you're there, purely there, he said that is enlightenment. That's a state of enlightenment. And when you're there, you are in the oneness. You are in the being of everything. You've mixed yourself in. And that comes to me a lot when I'm making music. And I realize that I've been making music for quite a period of time, and I didn't notice the time going by. So I have found our chant while I was telling you that story. So we got to fit it all in anyway. And here is Ubi Caritas. Please sing along.
Ubi Caritas et Amor, Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est, Ubi Caritas et Amor, Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est, Ubi Caritas et Amor, Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est, Ubi Caritas et Amor, Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est, Ubi Caritas et Amor, Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est,
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. Yes. Where there is charity and love, that's it. That's what it's about. That's God. That's it. Unending flow. It's all around us all the time. We just have to wake up to it. May we wake up. Now is our time for extinguishing the chalice and the ringing of the bell. So I'll share those words from Augustine of Hippo from North Africa one more time. To fall in love with God is the greatest romance. Happy Valentine's Day. May you fall in love with God, in yourself, in nature, in other beings. If you have found community here, treasure it. If you have found challenge here, go and sit quietly with whatever is stirring in your heart. And if you have found hope here, bring it out into our bruised and beautiful world that needs you awake, you glowing, you a fountain of love. Amen.